Welcome to the Mill Brook Railroad, and today we give you the story of the construction of this little thing. It is Mill Brook Railroad ES 2500 construction number 2601. Welcome to the Mill Brook Railroad, and today we're going to build some locomotives. Why now? Well, because somebody asked for a locomotive, so I'm going to fill that order. And I need another locomotive for the Mill Brook Railroad, so I'll build one for that. And I'll have a third one to sell to whoever wants one. So maybe at the end of the video, if you see an ES 2500 listing on our website, which there is one already, feel free to order a locomotive. So anyway, we're going to weld up the frame right now. Just start with the basics. I've already cut the pieces out. These aren't all the pieces yet. I've still got more sitting over on the bench, but right now we're going to weld the main pieces. These cross members here hold the motor mount up. These holes here and here, they hold the pillow block bearings that hold the jack shaft. So that's basically most of the transmission, motor, jack shaft, and then out to two axles. Chain drive. Simple, reliable, and it just works. Got the welder on right now, and I'm going to start in this corner over here and weld this corner together. I can get a nice angle on it, that'd be nice.
I'll try.
I'm talking about my welding angle.
Yeah.
I think I should turn the fan on. Eight clicks. There you go.
There we go.
Now it's on.
Ventilation.
Yes.
Welding smoke. Don't breathe this.
I've got to weld up this seam here on these four pieces, and also here. I'll probably do this on the outside over here. The end, I'm going to shift it all down and get that later. My welding cart isn't big enough to do a whole frame though, all at once. Oh well. Alright, before I weld these uprights, I'm going to get this piece welded on, which means we're going to flip the frame around in the jig. And I'm indexing against these pegs here and these pegs here. There, it's square.
That's a rectangle.
It's still square. I wonder if Blacktail Studio does stuff like this. I mean, the banter. Who knows what they throw away in post.
We only throw away most of it.
Okay. Would you hand me the square, please? Blue thing. I'm going to measure this. Should be 13 inches. Yeah, 13 inches to the inside. That is to spec. Because that's exactly what we did over here. 13 inches to the inside. Good. And again, we check it is square. It is square.
Yay! Measure 20 times, weld once.
Yeah. You'll never regret having measured again. Well, maybe you will if you go excessive with it. I mean, you know.
Down to the micrometer.
Yeah.
You were lighting it up so much I could actually see the camera through the welding mask.
Well, next one.
For those at home, if the camera work is a bit shoddy this video for this, just know I'm trying to shoot with a welding mask on. Anything to say about that, Mr. Producer?
No, I am your... No! Meanwhile, back in the shop. Thank you. I need those plates. No, plates.
No, these.
Yeah,
These.
those.
These.
Thank you.
Those are plates.
These are plates. So, these actually go in, like, underneath. So, I have to use these as a spacer right now. So, this kind of goes here. Ow.
Pidgey.
Just like this, somehow like that. And space that. Like that. Yeah. We'll do it one piece at a time.
I did it one
Let me
piece
just
at
lay
a
this
time,
out.
and it cost me a dime.
What? Well, while Eric tries to quote Johnny Cash songs, I'll just continue putting this thing together. Now, what I have to do is put one end of this truck support together, weld it in place. One of these days I'll have to make a jig for this, but in the meantime, it'll be measuring and marking and measuring and marking and then welding things together. This is the support for the truck springs and also for the truck itself. So we stick that cross member right there, put another cross member on the other end, clamp it all down, and then we'll weld this together. And now that the welding is done, it's time to flip this thing over and scribe the center lines so I can mount the truck bolster plates, or truck hanger plates, or whatever you call them. Oh. I messed up. I messed up again. I got ahead of myself. Well, I guess I'm putting another piece of angle iron in there. Now, in case you missed that, and it's not obvious, I forgot to weld in the truck supports on each end, so let's do that now. Okay, now that that's done, I can flip the frame over again and fit the truck. Oh, that's better. And now I'll grab the springs and stick them in there between the frame and the truck. And now I'll start lining up the truck hangers so I can weld those in place. This is where that scribed center line comes in handy. Something that's hard to see through the camera is there is a hole in the middle of each of these trucks, and that's what I'm lining the truck hangers to. That and the center line. All right. I really should have made a blueprint of this, but right now I'm just going from memory because I've built a few of these. I need to modify this part here so when I drop it in, it drops at the right height. Right now it's about a ½ inch too short, so I can go into CAD and extend that by a ½ inch on the top end here. Then the next time I order this part from Send Cut Send, it'll be right. So I'm lining this up with the center line I have down here. And I think up top here, that feels about even. It's close enough, I think, if I can keep it from moving. Yeah, if you could reach your hand in there. Thank you. Just tighten that up.
Make sure your fingers out the way this time.
Well, yeah. There. All right, that one's in place. I've got a hole right here to index that. Now I can weld that in place. I can move the clamp to the next one. And don't worry, I didn't just leave it tack welded. I did go back and weld those the rest of the way. So those are not falling off anytime soon. That's for sure. Well, with that one built up, time to build another one of the frames. I'm not going to show you the third one. This is the second one here. Just welding this one up. This one is construction number 2602. Doing this more from memory while it's still fresh in my mind. And here's a still shot of all three frames, sitting waiting for the paint booth. Now you remember those pins on the trucks that I was sitting the springs on? Well, I do those on the lathe. Those are custom done. And I ran out of them. So here we go, making some more. And after I made a bunch, here they are all welded into the trucks, just like magic. Now it's off to the paint booth, shooting primer on all these parts. And several days later, after the primer is fully dried and cured, we paint them all gloss black. Now, while I've been buying my wheels from an outside supplier, I've been making my own axles. Here we are on the CNC lathe, turning one of those axles, or at least one end of one of those axles. This end happens to have a step on it for one of the drive sprockets. Here's that one that just came off the machine. You know it's running good when you get a nice shiny finish like that. Unlike this one, it wasn't quite so nice, but close enough. It's two-dimension. And I'm not picky with the finish here on these, but I got it much nicer here. Alright, now that the paint is dry on all those other parts, it's time to spray some primer on all the frames. One of the reasons I'm jumping around a lot here is because you've got to do something while paint dries, and so we make other parts while the paint is drying. Kind of maximize the time as much as we can, although we still end up sitting around watching paint dry quite a lot. Riveting, isn't it? Okay, on to sprockets. Well, I gotta tell you folks, this is boring. And I wouldn't be doing this if I'd ordered the right sprockets to begin with. But here we are. Boring. Well, after all that excitement, I can barely contain myself. I have to go back to the paint booth and spray some primer on all these motor mounts. And here we are 3 days later, spraying them black. Now it's off to Banta Model Works to go get the bodies made. Making the locomotive bodies today. We got parts right here. And over here on the saw. We're gonna cut some more. Now what we're cutting here are parts for the lower part of the locomotive bodies. These are the walkways, the side sills, and the pilots. Bill checks his cut list and gets ready to cut more parts. The part that he's cutting now is the end of the hood. Now, after all that sawing and a bunch of routing and some assembly, we've got some assembled body pieces. The cab will come later. That's laser cut. In the meantime, let's see how this looks on the chassis. Ah, it looks nice in primer. A couple weeks later, and the cab is all done. I didn't get any footage of it, but here I am painting it. With a new paint system, no less. Now, in case you're wondering what this paint scheme is going to look like, well, here it is, kind of like this, but not exactly. A little bit different. Things don't always go smoothly in the paint booth. Sometimes when you're peeling the masking tape off, the color comes with it, and then you spend a week fixing everything. That happens. All right, I jumped ahead a lot here. There was a lot of boring stuff that I didn't cover, but it's mostly assembled. All the electronic stuff, all the lighting stuff. Here I am putting the windows together. And then we jump ahead to almost to the point where we're putting the stencils on. Speaking of stencils, here they are, all in place, and after having repaired the paint again. Well, I've skipped most of the little fiddly parts of putting this together, but pan down and take a look at what we've got. We've got AMZ and Pacific number 2601, which just happens to be build number 2601 here in the shop. So right now we're going to put the cab on, and that officially finishes this engine. It takes a ridiculously long bit to reach in here and put the cab on. Use this a little bit more. Back. Et voilà, fini! This is AMZ and Pacific number 2601. Mill Brook build number 2601 as well. It is based on a Southern Pacific paint scheme on their 70-tonners. Certainly inspired by it anyway, by their pre-1977 paint schemes. Before they went to Scotch Light on the lettering. This is back when it was lettering gray. So, just got it out of the shop. I think it's looking pretty good, actually. Well, check this out. We went all the way up the railroad, fixed a spot in the track that was a bit low on the inside, and came up and got the 17 and controlling both engines with one radio control. And of course both horns blast when you hit the horn button, number 3 over here. So she's working good. Let's go for a ride behind these two. One 7 1/4 inch gauge loco, one 7 1/2 inch gauge loco. On the same track. How can that be? Very simple. And the track is actually 7 1/2. 7 1/4 inch gauge stuff runs on it just fine. Oh, right up into the engine house. I guess I got to throw the switch. Yeah, the switches are just as rough on the 7 1/2 inch gauge equipment as it is the 7 1/4. Because the switches are rough. 2601 is a little bit more refined than the 17. It's a more recent build. Now you learn a few lessons each time you build one of these. So implement changes. Constant improvement. I believe the Japanese call it Kaizen. It's a good concept. So these engines MU through the radio control. I don't think there's a limit how many you can control from one transmitter. If there is, I'm not aware of the limit. I've done 4 at a time. Right now I'm doing 2. So these locomotives have a model number of ES2500. And you can get them at millbrookrailroad.com. So, go on the website, send us an email, send your deposit in, and you'll get on the list for the next ones that'll be built. It's actually the same length as Shady Pine 17. They're built from the exact same design. Paint job makes them look different. The lines of a paint job can mess with your head a little bit as to what the proportions of a locomotive are, but these are built to the exact same dimensions. Even though it doesn't really look like it in the camera, or when you're looking at it in person either. But we use the same print. They all measured out to the exact same thing. Matter of fact, I could probably swap the hoods, but I'm not going to. So, I just got the 2601 finished. So a big difference you'll notice between this and the Shady Pine 17 is how much noise it makes, how much noise it doesn't make. See, the reason this one makes a lot less noise is because how the platform was made. On the Shady Pines unit, the whole running board is all one sheet. On this one, the battery boxes are separate pieces. And that one little difference, so it makes the whole thing a lot quieter. Well, we're ready to deliver the 2601. Mike here is the owner of this engine, just picking it up. So we just put the safety chains on it, and that means it's finished.
Yeehaw. Good looking engine.
Yeah.
Very happy with it.
Well, thank you. So why don't you have a seat and ride?
Hop it on. Going west. That's a nice ride.
Yeah. So if you'd like to see more of these videos earlier, then you can go over to Patreon, patreon.com/Mill Brook Railroad. If you want to reserve one of these engines, it's millbrookrailroad.com. Send an email and send a deposit, and we'll get you on the list. And that's basically it for this video. See you in the next one.